Hello everyone. So in this lecture we will talk about transfer function modeling and the advantage of transfer function modeling. Okay, so let us start with an example again that we have seen earlier. Let us say I start with RLC circuit and I given a certain initial voltage. Okay, so I would ask you to compute what could be. So if this is the input, I will ask you to compute what is output voltage to the capacitor, or even what is AT, means current. So what would I do? I would start writing down the appropriate voltage loss equations. Okay, so that is VIT is equals to RIT plus L di by dt plus 1 by C integration of current. So this is voltage. So now the problem is to find V naught for a given Vi. Okay, so what does that mean? So to find that the time response, or how do we not change with a given Vi, so we need to solve certain set of differential equation, ordinary differential equation, or even sometime intro differential equation. So you see the little integral term over here. So what you also earlier saw is that when I transform from differential equation into Laplace domain or S domain, the differential equation turn out to be simple algebraic equation which are then easier to solve. Linear equations are usually easier to solve than differential equation. So we transform model into S domain and then we would define what is called as transfer function, and this is the signal which is related to given input and output, which will be computed again by what is called as transfer function of the system. So this is of course a model which is applicable for all kind of input signal. Okay, so what is transfer function of system? Well, the transfer function of LTI or linear invariant time invariant system or time invariant system, let recall definition that the parameter of system would not change with time. Okay, for example mass or a spring constant or a resistance and inductance, all of these are invariant of time. So for a linear time invariant system, let me also recollect what we will focus on system which are just single input single output, also called SISO. So these kind of LTI SISO system, the transfer function is ratio of Laplace transform of output to Laplace transform of input, assuming all initial condition to be 0. So if I write mathematically, if US is the Laplace transform of output and YS is Laplace transform of input, US is Laplace transform of input function and YS is Laplace transform of output function, then transfer function GS is YS by US. So how does this look again? Means look like. So if I have a input UT to a system and the output is YT. Okay, so this is my system. So I can say ordinary differential equation. So this system is represented by ordinary differential equation. So a transform function, I transfer it into Laplace domain. So I can have YS and US, and the linear relationship which describe how a certain input result in certain output is called as transfer function. So given transfer function, I can simply say that given input us and the response of system or the output is simply multiplication of gs and us. So we call that in time domain we would actually have a convolution. So let us say if yt is my output signal, let me call gt as system and some convolution with input. So now we get rid of these things. So gt is replaced by gs and this gs is transfer function. Okay. So a similar way, or one way of looking transfer function is to look at impulse response of a system, which means response of system when input is an impulse. So what is impulse? By definition, it is an infinitely narrow and definitely infinitely tall signal. You can speak in terms, just say that it's take value 0 everywhere. Here it is 0, here it is 0. I expect that at t equals to 0 it is like an infinitely long signal such that the area is 1. So how do we construct this impulse signal, right? It might be sounds little superficial here, but let's say I start with a little rectangle here. Okay. I will take a little rectangle here, has a width of a and height of 1 by a. Now what is the area of this guy? It's 1. Area is a into 1 by a is equals to 1. So if I call this signal as rectangle signal RT, then I have integration of minus infinity to infinity RT would be 1. So there is 0 everywhere else left to here, this point, and right to this point. Okay, and this width is a from here till here. So you can call this as a by 2 in negative side and a by 2 in positive side. So based on this, how do I construct an impulse? So let us say take a limit to a signal. I will just limit to the signal. Zero. Okay, and nothing changed, right? It's still the area. Limit, I will just write area 1 by a goes to 1. So limit of the signal is 1. So I have this signal like this, that minus infinity to infinity delta t is 1. So if input to the system is unit input, okay, then the output is called as impulse response. So if earlier what we had is ys was gs time us. Us is an impulse, and we know that Laplace transform of impulse is just 1. Okay, so I am just left with gs. So this is output is equals to gs. So you can say that output which I observe is equals to transfer function. So at least mathematically I can say that. So what that means, this transfer function is just the impulse response of a LTI system again. So you look at initial conditions to be 0. So let us say transfer function is a Laplace transform of impulse response to LTI system when initial conditions are said to be 0. So let us take an example for this. So I can take the case of simple pendulum. So I will just clear it once. Okay. So for a simple pendulum, I have a mass, point mass. Okay, everything else is normalized to 1, and I say I just measure theta. Okay, so I say I just give an impulse here. So it not be practically possible to give an impulse like this, but it might. You can just look at it as a signal. This is a very small a. So what would you expect? I just, loosely speaking, I just push it away so that I gave it a little push. So it will just somehow follow its natural response. So if it is a system which has no damping, it will keep on oscillating all the time. And if it is a system which has damping, the oscillation will die down. So it is a natural response. So impulse response is nothing else, natural response of the system. So even look at it different way, the natural response of human being, especially at 7 in the morning. So the alarm clock is impulse response. So the alarm perturbs you and you just switch it off again, happen in this flash time, then you go back to sleep, and that is your natural transfer function, or is a sleeping condition, and that is impulse response. So but if there is somebody trying to wake you up for a very long time, then your response might be different. So we will see how those response would be, but the impulse response is just the natural response of system, how it behaves naturally. Okay, now the question is, in a given system, how do I find the transfer function? Well, the first step is to write down the equation. So where do the equation come from? This again come from my voltage law, KVL and KCL, and maybe even the Newton's law, all those things which we have been dealing till now. Okay, so first write down the model equation of the system. Second, identify the system input and output variable, and then we will see that now the choice of output can be different and it is not always unique. Now take the Laplace transform of the model equation, which are essentially differential equation, and assume 0 initial condition, and then find the ratio of Laplace transform of output to the Laplace transform of input. And I can say do this because it is a linear equation. Okay, so again let us come back to this example which we started with. So I have ISV IT as input, RLC circuit elements generated certain current IT, and I want to find out what is my output by input. So this is easy to find. VIT is RIT plus LDI by dt plus 1 by C integration of current, and this is my output guy here. Okay, so now what is the first thing is to identify the input and output variable. First step was to write down the equations. Second was to identify the input and output variable. So input is voltage, which I apply, and output I identify as voltage across capacitor. So my equation, which was an integral differential equation, these equations, if I just take the Laplace transform, okay, and use an appropriate property, that differentiation becomes loosely speaking as multiplication with s. Okay, integration becomes a division by s. Okay, and I ends up with an equation like this. Okay, so now step 4, 2 was to identify input and output, do the Laplace transform, and last step would be just take the ratio of V naught by Vi. Okay, so I would always do this, right? V naught by Vi, just this guy. So this guy divided by this guy. So I have this one, 1 by S square LC plus SRC plus 1. So I just end up with transfer function. Okay, so now I could also do it. You can ask a question like, what if I just write down here, what if IS, or even say IT is the output. Okay, now I'm taking IT as my output. So this is another choice of output. So I just measure what is current. I would always do that. So how does the Laplace transform look like? It again, we have kind of straightforward to compute here. So Vs is R plus L plus 1 by SC IS. So this is input. From this equation, it is straightforward. So I can say transfer function GS, just to distinguish between this, I put here Vi by IS is equals to R plus SL plus 1 by SC. So now this is my new transfer function. So the ratio of Vi by Is, which form this expression. Sorry. Output is, I will just clear it once. This is output by input. So output is my IS and input is VIS. So it is 1 by R plus SL plus 1 by SC. Again, these are the transfer function for same system, but here I am measuring V naught as the output. Here I am measuring output as V naught, and here I am measuring current as an output. Okay, so these both are transfer function for the same system. Only difference is my output. If I just start with some relationship between input, so usually we will throughout this course denote UT as input signal and YT as output signal. So if I am given a differential equation in such form, in YS and US, like this with again zero initial condition. So how do I find transfer function? Well, again I will just do the same steps. I will take the Laplace transform of left hand side first. So Laplace transform of triple differentiation is s square, once again, s cube ys minus s square y naught minus s into single differentiation 0, okay, minus y double differentiation. Okay, as I know all initial conditions are 0, so this term is 0, this term is 0, this term is 0, so I am left with s cube ys. Similarly for double differentiation it will be s square ys minus s into ys y naught minus y differentiation at initial condition. So again these terms are 0, again I am left with s square. So Laplace transform of left hand side and right hand side will look like this: ys x cube s cube plus 10 s square minus 5s plus 1, and of right hand side it is us. Input terms are there, so us I am taking common, 10s for single differentiation plus 1. Okay, so this is Laplace transform. So I am just differentiating it 3 times. It will give me s cube, differentiating twice give me s square, differentiating once will give me s, and so on. So on the right hand side I will have du by dt plus u. Okay, so I will just transform 10s plus 1. So once I have this, I can easily write down ys by us. So I will just clear it once. So my transfer function is ys by us. Okay, so this is my transfer function for given differential equation. Okay, so given this transfer function, what are its property? Well, the first say that transfer function of system is independent of magnitude and nature of input, which means if it is essentially system level property. It is just based on what is system at hand, not what input signal is. So for example, if I take a system GS and I measure certain output with certain input, so if us is and say impulse, so I will have a certain output, it could be whatever. So GS would be same when this would be step input with corresponding output. It do not really depend on choice of input, it is just a property of system by itself. So the nature of pendulum will not change if the input is ramp or input is impulse or even a step. So the transfer function with the one which transfer in a way a given input signal to an output signal is a property of system itself. Once I have GS, I can easily study what could be transfer function of different kind of input. Okay, for example, ys is equals to gs us. So this is fixed. So give me any us, I can always study what is the response. If I were to do the time domain, I will just go and find Laplace inverse of ys, and I know lots of trick by now, and so once I have transfer function, I can study the response of various kind of inputs to see how my system would behave. Well, now is the transfer is unique, so give me a transfer function. Can I say what kind of system is this? Can I say is it car, is it a bus, is it an aircraft or whatever? Well, the answer is no. The transfer function do not provide me any information concerning the physical structure of system, which means that two different physical systems can have same transfer function. So let me just take an example of mass, spring and damper system which we have studied in our earlier lectures. It had a transfer function which was like 1 by s square, 1 by ms square plus bs plus k. So m is equals to b equals to k equals to 1. I have a transfer function like this. And if suppose I have a RLC circuit which we were studying in our previous slides, its transfer function was 1 by s square ls plus rs rl r s square lc plus src plus 1. If rlc are equals 1 by s square plus s plus 1 is the transfer function. So these two are same transfer function for two different systems. Okay, so therefore if I just say, well, 1 by s square plus s plus 1, it could mean more than one system. Or physically I could realize with some mechanical system or even as an electrical system. However, what the transfer function do is, say if the input is voltage and output is current, so I can write in Laplace domain as Gs will be Is by Vs. So it could be reverse of impedance. So it depends on how we look at the transfer. Say if I just write it as Vs would be the output and Is my input, so Gs would be impedance. So here it is capturing unit of inverse of impedance, here it is capturing impedance. So transfer function actually it captures the appropriate unit to the transfer the input signal to output signal. If it is force under velocity, it will have an appropriate unit over here. Okay, and so on. So in general, transfer function will look for a form like this. Ys would be any polynomial of order m in S, and us is the Laplace of input would be written as any polynomial of order n which comes in denominator. So I could also factor that as some number k prime. I will tell you shortly what this is and do a series of what we call as 0 and what we call as pole. So I can call n as the order of system. Okay, m would be number of 0, this m would be number of 0, n would be number of poles. So something is called as DC gain. Okay, so which is essentially what happened when if I just supply DC input. So this gain will be obtained by substituting S with 0, and in this case it would be Bm by An. If you are wondering where this come from, it is just an application of final value theorem. S going to 0. Okay, so just an application of final value theorem to the output. Ys is equals to Gs Us. So Us is step. So I apply final value theorem. Limit S is going to 0, then S into Gs. What is Gs? For a step input 1 by S. So these guys go away, and what I am left with is G naught. So this is well referred to this DC gain of system computed as Bm by An. Okay, so this Zs are called zeros of system. These are zeros of system. and I will shortly define them formally. So these are called poles of system. If I write my system in this form, my DC gain then would be G naught. So that would be, let call this as, if I put S equals to 0 in this form, over here it is bracket. These are factors of the above polynomial. Okay, so if I put G0 in this equation, it would be, DC gain would be K dash is equal to K dash, then product of zeros and product of poles. Okay, over here it is minus sign, over here also minus sign. So I will just write it again, K dash product of all zeros, product of poles. Okay, so we will shortly, when the K dash is important to us. So one important thing to remember here is that number of poles is always greater than or equals to number of 0, because if system has more number of zeros, so if the system actually becomes non-casual, if I have a number of 0 more than number of poles, for example, I have a system, I have a system which is having GS is equal to S square plus 1 by S plus 1, and this is non-casual system. So this is also not physically realizable by any known component. So you could also look at this way. If I try to compute the inverse of this guy, S square plus 1 by S plus 1, it will not exist. Similarly, if I just take even a simple one, like there, if in future classes when we are designing a controller, its transfer function, if you know actually analytic, say, well, I got a beautiful controller which again has a structure like this is incorrect. This means this never be a physically reliable. So what should be important in all through our problem is that number of poles should be always greater than number of zeros. If not, the system is non-casual, and if it will never be physically realizable. So we will keep this in mind and recollect this again when we do control design, and we will see how to actually overcome this problem. Okay, so by definition, what are poles? Well, these are the roots of denominator polynomial of transfer function. And how does this equation look like? Just take this denominator polynomial of last equation and just equate this to 0. So it will give you set of n solutions. So those are the poles of system. What happened to the system when S, which is value of pole, when S is equals to some pole value, GS will goes to infinity. Let's take a very simple example. Let I have a GS is equals to S plus 1, S plus 2, S plus 3. So here my poles are minus 2 and minus 3. So if S is equals to minus 2, this value will goes to infinity. Similarly, zeros are root of numerator polynomial. So zeros are roots of numerator polynomial. set that the numerator to be equals to 0, and what I then get are the zeros of the system. So what happen when I evaluate transfer function at 0? So this will always be 0, just substitute. So in this case my zeros are -1. So if I substitute -1 here, it might be the value of transfer function will become 0. Here it is becoming infinity, here it will become 0. So because this goes to 0, so these poles and 0 together with the system gain k characterize entire input output response of the system. Okay, so let's take the system, right, given by 6x plus 12 by s cube plus 2s square plus 7s plus 5. So what I want to find, what are the source of system gain? Okay, so what are the poles and what are zeros? So a DC gain, just said s is equals to, so this is my transfer function. If s is equals to 0, I can easily compute this. If s is equals to 0, I will have 12 by 5. This term will become 0. One second. This will become 0, this will become 0, this will become 0, this will become 0. So my DC gain is 12 by 5. Now what are the zeros? So set the numerator. Numerator is 6 plus 12 to 0. So this will give me s is equals to minus 6 by 12 by 6, that is minus 2. So 0 of this system is minus 2. Okay, minus 2. Now similarly I take a denominator polynomial and equate to 0, and I get s equals to 1 by s minus 1 plus 2j plus minus 1 minus 2j, these three roots. So what do we observe here? So of course the gain is always be a real number. The pole and 0, they could either be a real number like minus 2 or minus 1. Okay, here, and if they are complex, they will always be a conjugate in pair. So for example, there will never just exist a pole at minus 1 plus 2j. If minus 1 plus 2j exists, there will be always minus 1 minus 2j. So in general, poles, the complex pole will always be in this form. Okay, a plus complex form for poles will be a plus minus j b. Okay, so this is because all the coefficient of my transfer functions are always real. So this is the basic about transfer function modeling. Okay, so thank you for today's lecture.